Hey folks, and welcome back to the Leeds Gamer. It's match preview time, and Leeds have got an incredibly tough game coming up against Chelsea tomorrow night at Stamford Bridge. Now at Ellen Road, Leeds were absolutely excellent against Chelsea, beating them 3-1, but Chelsea back then had a different manager and probably played a different 11 to what I think Chelsea will play this time around. Maresca, the previous Chelsea manager, was very reluctant to play the likes of Reece James and Cole Palmer due to their injury records or fitness records. I don't think Liam Rosenior is going to hold back somehow. So, starting with the Chelsea lineup, I think they'll start with Sanchez in goal. He's played every game so far. Playing Reece James is whether he plays right back or he plays defensive midfield, I don't know, but they will play Reece James in some capacity, you would expect. They could put Reece James into defensive midfield and play Malo Gusto, who was also played a handful of games at right back this season. Or if they prefer Reece James at right back, then there's a possibility that Andrea Santos will come into midfield, which is what I've put on the list there. Left back will be Cucurella. He's played a lot this season, as has Trevor Chalobah. Wesley Fofana seems to have got his injury woes out of the way, so he's probably going to play. He didn't actually feature against Leeds either in the previous match, didn't Fofana. Already mentioned about what they can do regarding the likes of Santos and Gusto in relation to where Reece James could play. Caicedo was actually suspended for the match against Leeds, so he didn't play, so there's no doubt he'll play. Enzo Fernandez, very important player for them at the moment, scored quite a lot of goals. Pedro Neto, he came on as a substitute against Leeds and looked like one of their better players. I think he'll probably start this time. And then Cole Palmer came on as a sub and put a shot narrowly wide that he probably should have hit the target, to be honest with that one. And then João Pedro is their current top scorer, so he will likely play up front. The three main goal threats for from a Chelsea point of view are Fernandes with 8 goals, Pedro with 9 goals, and Palmer with 7 goals. If any of those are missing, that would be very helpful. Pedro Neto's got 5 as well, so it would be helpful if all 4 of those did not feature. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But let's face it, what are the chances that all 4 of those miss? Practically none. But I mean, for me, I think they are probably the 4 most important players in that Chelsea lineup, because they are the goal machines. They are the players that can score the goals and create the chances. Ultimately, I think they'll just score too many goals in most games to be that worried about who plays in their defence. I don't think Cucurella's that good. I don't think Chalobah's that good. Fofana was a good prospect, but has he kicked on since having all those injuries? I really don't know. In terms of other players that could feature, I mean, they've got Tosin Adarabioyo, but I don't know whether he's actually available. He might be not fit. I'm not sure. There was a lot of talk about why Josh Achampong didn't play against Leeds, like he wasn't even in the squad, if I remember. I remember Rory Jennings being absolutely miffed about the fact that Badiashile played, so he obviously don't rate him. Estevao, as skillful as that kid looks, he's only 18 years old. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists in 9 starts and 9 sub-apps. Liam Delap was bought quite expensively from Ipswich and only has 1 goal to his name at the moment. Garnacho was signed from Scum, and again he's not played 1,000 minutes yet either. He's a minute below 900 right now. He's got 1 goal and 3 assists, so he's not exactly set the world alight either. So yeah, they've. The way I look at this Chelsea squad, their strongest 11, very, very good. After that, I'm not super convinced with their backups. Maybe I'm missing something here, but I do not see a lot of amazing squad depth for a club who aspires to be a Champions League team every season. I could be wrong, but I'm not a Chelsea fan, never will be, never have been, can't stand them quite frankly. But if I'm judging teams by the quality they have in terms of squad depth, as I say, they've got a very good 11 and about half of their bench is good quality. After that, I'm not convinced with the rest of their backups. And I actually think that some of their defence can be got at. I don't think, as I say, I think Cucurella's overrated. I don't think Chalobah's that good. And as I say, Fofana was highly rated about 3 or 4 seasons ago, but whether he's still got that quality now, I don't know. He's been heavily injured. So, that's kind of my thoughts on the opposition. As far as Leeds are concerned, really bad news today that Pascal Strout's going to miss a couple of games. That's going to be a big miss in defence. He's been very good. Anton Stack's still out for another game, and I just have a feeling that because of the attacking prowess that we've got available and the fact that he missed the last game, I think Facundo Buonanotte might not make the squad again. With the way things are with Leeds at the moment, I genuinely think that Buonanotte is going to struggle for game time. I genuinely think he has been brought in as a backup. Just to add that little bit of extra creative flair for if someone like Brendan Aronson becomes unavailable, for example. I think he's going to struggle. I really do. I think there was a little bit of quality there with Buonanotte, but he's going to have to work his socks off to get into the favour of Daniel Farke, I think. So, I think that the Leeds bench will be Lucas Perry. I mean, I was all for Lucas coming back into the first 11 in the last match, but Carl Darlow did redeem himself against Forest after making a rather rubbish blunder against Arsenal. Carl Darlow came out with about 4 really good and really important saves against Forest. So, unfortunately for Lucas Perry, I think he stays on the bench for this one. Certainly if I was picking the team. So you see, I'm a little bit torn now because with the injury to Pascal Strout and with Chelsea not being that physical up front as such, they don't have a big burly target man. This game could be more suited to having a pacier centre-back in the shape of James Justin. But if we want to be physical and if we want to really bully the Chelsea front line, then I think that Sebastian Bornau comes into the mix alongside Joe Rodon and Jacobiol, who has thankfully gotten himself close to fitness again. But whether Yaka plays in the centre of the 3 or whether Yaka goes to the left centre-back position that's been vacated by Strauch due to injury, that to me would be a possibility. The other option is that Ethan Ampadu goes to left centre-back and then we bring in another midfielder. Could be either Longstaff or Tanaka in that shape. But we'll have to see. His performance in the last match has made me keep Ilya Gruev in the team, and again, because of losing Pascal, I think we will need some extra defensive midfield action going on here, and Ilya obviously fits the bill perfectly with that, alongside Ethan. Brendan Aronson hasn't been on it for the last game or two, but again, Brendan took so many knocks against Forest. Christ, he was getting the crap kicked out of him, and still battled on. So Aronson keeps his place, and I've brought Lucas Metcher back into the 11 alongside DCL. The two of them were an absolute nuisance for the Chelsea backline in the previous match against Chelsea. As I say, it's a different Chelsea team now and a different way that they are being coached under Rosenia as opposed to Maresca. But I still think that Metcher and Calvert-Lewin together can be a real handful for opposition defences, and they're both in quite sharp scoring form over these last few games. So from that point of view, I've kind of gone on to the 11 there without going through the bench. But yeah, so basically it would mean Lucas Perry as the backup goalkeeper, James Justin, Sam Byram, Sean Longstaff, Outanaka, Wilfred Nonto, Noah Okafor a bit unlucky again because he had a very good game against Forest. Dan James, he looked quite sharp when he came on, created a couple of chances on the right wing there, looked good. And then Joel Pirot being the only other natural striker that we've got after DCL and Metcher. In terms of other possible changes, whether or not he could possibly come in for any of those bottom four on the bench there, really. Maybe even Sam Byram gets taken off so that Bonanotti comes on, so that we've got more attacking options on the bench as opposed to defensive options. Again, just unlucky for Sam Byram, he's practically bottom of the pecking order in any shape or form, really. And then, as I say, there's every possibility that James Justin plays instead of Seb Bow now. Justin might even revert to the left centre-back role, even though he's right-footed, and a right-back predominantly. He has played at left-back before, so could probably do that role on the left side. Yacobiol is left-footed, but he's more of a central focal point rather than a left centre, if that makes sense. So, sorry, there's a lot of cat fur in the air at the moment. It's just a bit irritable. And again, apologies for the noise as well. I've got the dryer going on in the background there. Yeah, so that's kind of I would say that this particular selection here is a hybrid of what I would go with / what Farke might go with. The good thing is that we do have options. The good thing is that we are getting close to a point of where nearly the whole squad is fit and available. I'd love it if we could get into a position where Daniel Farke can select from anybody, because if literally every player was fit and available, it'd be really interesting to see what Farke then goes with. Obviously Meslier and Cairns would be the two goalkeepers missing out. Meslier actually played for the under-21s against Manchester City, but I mean it was just kind of like what Alex Cairns did a couple of months ago. Alex Cairns had a match in the under-21s as well. I think most of it's to kind of compensate for the fact that Roy Mahadi and Darryl Ombang have had some loan spells away from the under-21s, so we've obviously needed some kind of goalkeeper between the sticks, and so therefore it makes total sense that Ilya Meslier and Alex Cairns get some minutes behind them, even if it is at under-21 level. It's still a competitive environment, and wouldn't do the likes of Ilya or Alex any harm whatsoever. So that's where I'm at, really. Losing Pascal is a massive miss. He's good aerially. He's improving his defending. He's comfortable with the ball at his feet. Brings the play out from the back. And it does mean that Leeds will have to shuffle the defensive pack around a little bit. It does also mean that we will have to play a little bit more defensive in midfield as well, I think, just to give that bit of extra cover. there's every chance that maybe Aronson just gets put back onto the bench from a tactical point of view, and that we play with maybe a midfield three of Ampadu, Gruev and Longstaff, just to give a bit, even more kind of grit and determination in that midfield area. And then we, with that, then we have to play a more direct style to get the ball up to the likes of Mexer and Lewin. But ultimately, if we do take Brendan out of that and we do play with a almost a 100% direct style, we are going to have to play with Mexer and Calvert-Lewin together. We can't just play with Dominic Calvert-Lewin on his own up front if we go down that route. I think that Daniel Farke's getting too comfortable just playing with Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front on his own, and I don't like it. I much prefer us playing with two strikers up front. It was too much of a hassle for Chelsea. They couldn't cope. But I have a horrible feeling, especially away from home, I just think we're going to play for a draw. Not intentionally, but the lineup will be very defensive minded. And I don't want it to be, because I think that Leeds' best form of defence is attack. Because if you compare us to some of the teams in the bottom half, we've scored a lot more goals. Yes, we've conceded a lot, but again, if you take out the two Arsenal games, our defensive record is not terrible. It's not that bad, actually. We've conceded 9 goals against Arsenal, which is just obscene. But it's only one team. They're the only team that's hammered us this season. No other. We've had losses, but they've usually only been by a 2-goal margin or a 1-goal margin. We've not been slaughtered by anybody apart from Arsenal this season, and we don't have to play them anymore now, which is obviously a massive positive. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there, folks. This is my match preview for the Leeds United versus Chelsea game for tomorrow night. It's going to be a very difficult match, and I am saying it now. This will be a very different match to the one that was played at Ellen Road. Chelsea are coached differently now. I think they've got a manager who won't be afraid to play the likes of Reece James and Cole Palmer, who are arguably their two best players. So yeah, we're going to have to be absolutely on it. And as I say, with missing the likes of Pascal and Anton, we've got to get those two boys back. We really do. We've got to get Pascal Struijk and Anton Stack back as quickly as possible. We have got 3 very hard games coming up, with Chelsea, Man City and Aston Villa. And it's possible that we're going to get beaten in all 3 of them. Quite possible. But I would like to think that maybe we can just nick a point or 2. I think we need 3 more wins and 2 more draws. If we could get the 2 draws out of those 3 games, that's so much pressure lifted. And at that point then, there's some very winnable games coming up at Ellen Road. We've got a couple more games that are going to be under the lights at Ellen Road. And we're currently 5 for 5. 5 wins out of 5 games under that condition. We've still got to play both Burnley and Wolves at home. We really need to be targeting those as winnable games. We've got a couple of away games as well, Palace and West Ham. West Ham being on the final day. We could get draws or wins in those perhaps. We're at home to Sunderland, who don't have a great away record. We're at home to Brighton. Brighton are a bit of a bogey side for us, but at the same time, it's at Ellen Road, so we do have a better chance there than we do at the Amex. So yeah, I really think that we've got a chance of getting things done and doing enough to stay up. As I say, we need the 3 wins and the 2 draws on top of what we've got now to get 40 points, and I think that gets us 17th place. I'd like to get a few more points that could get us either 16th or 15th, but I'm not greedy. I just want us to stay up. So yeah, I'll leave it there, folks. Big thank you for watching. Do please hit the like button and the hype button. Do please Subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. But in the meantime, let's cross fingers and hope for another positive performance and positive outcome for Leeds. Just as long as we don't lose. And if we do lose, we don't, we can, as long as we don't get thrashed. I don't want to see the goal difference get battered again. I'm not really sensing it with this one, but we're going to have to be professional and don't make any silly mistakes. But yeah, there we go, folks. So in the meantime, have a good one. See you next time. Bye for now.